Our first guest tonight is an Emmy and Academy Award nominated actress you know from her work in FX's Fargo, in films such as The Power of the Dog, The Beguiled, Interview with the Vampire, Marie Antoinette. Bring it on! She stars in Civil War, which opens in theaters and IMAX nationwide on April 12th. Please welcome back to the show our friend Kirsten Dunst, everybody!
Thank you. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. I've been lucky enough. Your husband, Jesse Plemons, has been on a couple of times, so I do feel as though I've been able to keep up with your family.
Yeah, this is his safe space of interviews. He really, really loves you.
I'm very happy because I love both of you a great deal, but I do want you to tell him when you get home that I also love him.
Okay, good. He's a real closer look guy. He's always on his phone outside. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, just catching up on my Seth.
Okay. Yeah. And you've added, since last time I saw you, you've added a couple of kids. Congratulations.
Yes. Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's
it's
a
been that long. Whoa, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And you, I mean, we ended up adding a girl, but I'm right in the wheelhouse of what we had. Two boys. Two boys right now running around. How are you feeling?
I mean, they're wrestling me. They're wrestling each. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. You can't stop them from wrestling.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
No, especially wrestling naked.
Yeah, they love to wrestle naked.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah, they're out all the time.
All the time.
Now, is it? I heard you say that. Is it the oldest that likes to dress up like Spider-Man?
It's the youngest.
The youngest.
James,
okay.
Yeah.
And does he have like the full zip-up Spider-Man suit?
He does, but he mostly just wears his T-shirt and his hoodie over it, all the ways up to the top.
Okay, gotcha.
And then, running around the house like.
Yeah. Now, we have the full body one, and I will tell you the scariest thing Spider-Man ever said is, I have to poop. Because when those things are on, you're just like, son of a gun. But you're, I mean, again, too young to know that their mom was in Spider-Man.
Yes. I mean, he watches it, but he doesn't care about my part, obviously.
Gotcha. So really, you're on screen and it doesn't even register?
I think because I have red hair.
Okay, gotcha.
It's like, whatever, I'm the boring part of the show.
It's really funny if he was like, you should dye your hair because you look like Spider-Man's girlfriend.
Amazing.
You and Jesse has a scene in this film, which is really, and we're going to talk a lot about it, but it's a wonderful film. And Jesse's in it. This is the third time you guys have worked together. Do I have it right?
Yeah.
Fargo, you met on Fargo season 2.
Yeah.
Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
And then this, let me just say, no duds. You guys have worked together 3 times, no duds.
You're right. I didn't think about that.
Because let's be honest, I mean, every actor is in some duds.
Yeah, I mean, we all are, yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that you and your husband have managed to avoid the duds, it really says something about you guys.
Like sets us up for failure.
Yeah. You know what? My money on the next one. Huge dud.
Dud. Yeah, me too.
But this role was not, Jesse was not originally cast.
No, he wasn't. It was another actor, and it happened during rehearsal that the actor dropped out, and Jesse was there with the kids, and I suggested him, and...
He was just on, he was nearby, just like basically...
in Atlanta with the kids, yeah.
That's all. Now, did you suggest him, or was Jesse like, hey,
I did.
Okay, that's very
Who wants to play that role, by the way?
I will say, he plays a real bad guy.
Yeah, and nobody wants to play this role. It's very intense.
Yeah.
He feels bad he played that role.
It is a real... Yes. I will say it helps that I feel like we've seen Jesse over the years, like, both play good guys and bad guys, and we know him to be a good guy. You're right. If it was some actor I'd never seen before, I would be, like, repulsed every time I saw him ever since.
Yeah.
So I feel like Jesse, like, took one for the team.
He really did. And, yeah, he's a brilliant actor.
He really is a brilliant actor.
I know, so I'm so proud, because he is the kindest person. So it's
yes,
so
it is
he's
nice
just
to
a
see him.
really fantastic actor.
And do you, what is it like when you guys are on set together? I mean, again, you met on a set,
We
so
did.
Does it feel a little romantic when you're on set together?
Not in this scene,
Yeah.
but...
I'm so glad you're saying that, because obviously nobody here has seen it yet.
yeah.
It'd be so weird if you said how romantic it was and then they saw the scene. They'd be like, they got a creepy marriage.
We were respectful of each other's space.
Got
because
it.
he's playing someone really awful and racist. It's a
Yeah.
really awful scene. And so I think everyone, the way Alex shot it was very immersive.
This is
with
the director,
camera.
Alex Garland.
Yes,
He's
Alex,
wonderful.
Yes. So the way he shot it, every scene felt very real and like documentarian-like,
Yes.
you know? So we all gave each other space.
So obviously there's been a little bit of Spider-Man. I mean, I'm trying to think, has Jesse been in any, what's the first Jesse project you're going to show your kids?
Ooh, Friday Night Lights?
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yes.
What's the last of either of your projects you're going to show them?
Well, oh, together? This one, obviously. Yeah.
I feel like maybe on their 28th birthday.
yeah.
You're like, we got a movie we want to show you. I want to talk more about the movie. Stick around. We're going to be right back with more Kirsten after this.
I didn't take a single photo. I didn't even remember I had cameras on me. Like, oh my God. Like, why didn't I just tell him not to shoot them?
They're probably gonna kill them anyway.
How do you know?
He doesn't know, but that's besides the point. Once you start asking yourself those questions, you can't stop. So we don't ask. We record so other people ask. You want to be a journalist? That's the job.
Hey, Lee.
What?
Back off.
What am I saying that's wrong?
I'm not saying it's wrong. She just shook up. Lee doesn't understand shook up.
Whoa. I'm not being protective of her. You're the idiot who let her in this car.
We're back with Kirsten Dunst, everybody. That was a clip from Civil War. It's really one hell of a movie. I was telling you this backstage. This takes place, sadly, in the near future, and yet it feels like a very believable near future where there is a civil war happening.
Yeah, I mean, we hope not. I think this film really shows, you know, how delicate our democracy is, and really it doesn't choose a side in the film. It really allows audiences to put their own anxieties and fears and their own political beliefs into the film while they're watching it.
There's also a haunting thing about this film, which is when it starts, everybody is accepting that there's a civil war going on. You know, it's not one of those movies where people are like, I can't believe, like you and sort of your cast and people we see in that scene, you're all journalists.
Yes.
And so you were sort of passive observers of this, which was a really, I don't know, it made it even darker to realize like, oh, how quickly we would just be like, you know, the New York Times would be like, all right, you got to go cover that Civil War. And you'd have to go cover this part of the Civil War. Did you feel as actors in the film like you had to do less because you were playing these passive observers?
I just felt like the journalists, the war correspondents that I researched were very much like they're just there to tell the truth, and like no one is, you know, performing in any way. Like nothing about this is. Everything is very real and immediate, and they're risking their lives. And journalists don't really get that respect, war journalists, I don't think. So and this was Alex's way in because he grew up around war correspondence. So, but yeah, Maria Colvin was like a real inspiration for me for Lee. And the way her and her journalists were together in Syria, and that was kind of my North Star playing this role.
There's also a very, I think, telling line about your character where you basically say you started doing this in hopes that if Americans saw photos of war scenes from across the world, it would remind them to never go down that path. And obviously, you're sort of questioning the work you've done because it has happened. And it's interesting because this movie is almost like a piece of war journalism because it is showing, it does feel like it's like screaming out a warning to all of us of like, look where this could go.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sort of desolate locations and, you know, it's sort of haunting and it's quiet. Did it feel when you were making it, like did it feel very quiet to you?
Honestly, we shot in order, so it kind of ramped up as the movie's actually ramping up, and the last 2 weeks were, Alex wanted to feel so real, so it was, instead of full rounds, we used full rounds instead of half rounds or quarter rounds for our blanks, so like everything was so loud. It was as loud as when you're in the theater as it was on set, so it was very intense. And then you're reading about a school shooting or another shooting in America, and then you're on the set, like just listening to this noise. So it really affected us all in a very intense way.
We were also talking backstage about how when you're making a movie like this, you can't quite predict how it's going to look. And Alex Garland really makes beautiful movies. And so even though it's about the most devastating thing you can imagine, this movie, I was going to say, I couldn't take my eyes off the movie, but that is...
I know watching a movie. No, but I know what you mean.
The movie. But like, there are movies that you get distracted,
though.
And then with this one, you did feel like you were watching, I don't know, like something real happening.
Yes, it did for me too. Even, I was in the movie and I was shocked by watching the end, or watching the final product, like the way he edited it, the music, and all of it. It is a really intense theatrical film. People should see it in the theater, I think. It's one of those movies, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and I was in it.
Well, I totally understand. I've certainly never been in a movie where that's true, but it must be a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, it is. I'm very proud.
You should
in
be,
it.
and I'm just so nice to have you back. Thank you so much for being here, Kirsten.
Thank you, Seth.
Kirsten Dunst, everyone. Civil War will be in theaters and IMAX nationwide on April 12th. Stick around. Be right back with Sean Casey and Ryan Dempster. Our next guests are former Major League Baseball All-Stars and teammates. You can see their work as analysts on the MLB Network on shows including Intentional Talk and MLB Tonight. Please welcome to the show Sean Casey and Ryan Dempster. Good to have you guys here. Sean, you've been on a bunch of times. First time for you, Ryan. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh, man, thank you so much.
I'm also very happy the baseball season is starting.
Yes.
Very emotional day for me yesterday, 20-year anniversary of the 2004 Boston Red Sox, one of the most special teams, certainly for me. And the great Tim Wakefield passed away this year. His wife passed away. It was a beautiful ceremony for them. Did you guys, for guys who played for the Red Sox, was that a cool day for you to watch?
I mean, I think even as a baseball fan, I think that's one of the greatest teams of all time. The characters on that team and everything. And I think, you know, them having the big ceremony with Wake's daughter throwing out the first pitch to Tech. And, you know, for baseball guys like you, brother, you know, it was a big day.
You were both Red Sox.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy your time with the Red Sox?
Oh, my God, did I? Yeah, it was amazing. I played 1 year. It feels like I played 10. You know, 1 year, 2013, win the World Series. Yeah. Thank you. You know, and it was
so that's your ring. That's what I will say. It's very tasteful. You can barely notice it.
Thank you. You know, the amazing thing about this, so true story about this, I get this ring, right? And my wife and I come to New York City right after I'd retired. I went and got the ring, and we went to Nobu right here in Manhattan, and we didn't have a reservation. And I was like, we got up there and we're like, maybe we get a seat at the bar, or maybe they'll have an opening, because that happens a lot there, you know? And, and so we're sitting there and I'm like, and I'm watching all these people go up and they're like, it's gonna be an hour, it's gonna be an hour and a half, you know? And my wife's like, we should just go somewhere else. And I'm like, just hold on, just hold on a sec. So true story, I had my ring on, I was like, excuse me, is there any chance, like, there's just two of us? And, you know, not trying to, like, is there any chance we get a table, you know? And I watch her face. She's just going like this, right? And she goes, I'll be right back. And then she came back 5 minutes later. She goes, we can get you right in.
Wow.
Open table app right here. Don't need it.
Now, that's very nice.
Yes.
Especially for a Red Sox World Series ring in New York. The fact that it worked.
Well, if I walk around in the Bronx, I go like that, and I just standard ring, you know?
Standard. Now, speaking of the Bronx, you were, for the second half of last season, batting coach for the Yankees. How was your time as a hitting coach?
Absolutely incredible. Absolutely. I think, too, you know, when you're the hitting coach or you're a coach in the big leagues, and the best player in the league is also your best person in the clubhouse, and Aaron Judge makes it a lot easier. So it was incredible. Aaron Boone's like one of my dear friends, played 6 years with him in Cincinnati, and just reconnecting with those guys. But being able to be with, you know, G. Stanton and Judgy and Volpe and those guys all year for the second half was incredible.
So I have to ask, right? So you're a hitting coach. You mentioned three guys who are obviously very good at hitting. Like, they've been doing it for a long time. What at the major league level do you even say to one of those guys?
I know, not much. You see Aaron Judge hitting balls like 500 feet. It's like, I never did that. I don't know what that is. But, you know, I think there's something to be said about, for a guy that's done it, or that's a coach, that there's so many ups and downs in a 162-game season that, like, I think sometimes just knowing that, like, anything you've ever done, as bad as you think you are, I've been worse. You know what I mean? I think, and so.
So you just walk around as an example of how much worse it can get.
Exactly. Yeah, you guys think it's bad now. You should see some of the things I did.
Now, you guys were teammates, Reds, 02, 03.
Yeah.
How was it having Sean as a teammate?
He was awesome, man. Like, he really was. Like, he had the nickname the Mayor, right? Like, that's his nickname, because he really was. He was so personable with everybody. I mean, so friendly. Like, I remember one time. Should I tell this?
I don't even know what you're saying. I don't know.
He just was like, I got traded over to the Cincinnati Reds in 2002, and, you know, a week to the team, we went to St. Louis, and Case calls me up in the hotel. We were staying at the beautiful Hyatt Hotel there, two-story hotel. It was gorgeous.
I like as you're finally remembering the story.
And like, you
I know where this is
And
going.
it's too late to be like, no.
I know, I was just going to say. I was like, we can't tell us on Seth Meyers, dude. What are you doing?
We can, and we're going to. And we're sitting there, and Case goes, calls my hotel room phone, and you know, now you're in that moment where you got to try and be a good teammate. So he says, can you come down to my room? I need to talk to you about something. And I go walk down the hall. I knock on the door. He says, hey, man, thanks a lot, dude. Hey, listen, you know, my wife's coming in. I haven't had a chance to do any manscaping. Can you shave my back for me? And I had to decide what kind of teammate I wanted to be. And here we are, all these years later, huh, pal? Look
22 years later, we're telling the world.
You got that right. Absolutely.
Well, you have to.
I just like how
whenever
quick...
you look in the clubhouse, you see who the hairy guys are too. And I look, Dem took his shirt off. I was like, I could call Dem.
I like that every time somebody got traded to the team, you're like, maybe this is the guy. You were always hoping they would be like for a hairy player
Hairy back
later.
club, yes.
You just threw out a first pitch.
Oh, yeah.
So home opener for the Reds or no?
Home opener for the Reds.
Home opener. And
Yeah.
again, you're a beloved Reds vet.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so did you have any stress about it?
What? Are you serious? Major stress. You know what I mean? It's different when you're playing every day in the big leagues and you're used to those crowds. It's one thing, but you're 16 years out of the game, and then they're like, "Hey, can you come throw the first pitch out the opening day?" In Cincinnati, that's like it's a national holiday too.
Yeah.
So the day before, I took my son Andrew. I'm like, "Hey, dude, listen, you got to get down. We're going to local high school. I'm ripping some balls in there from the mound. I'm thinking of George Bush just putting it right on the money to Jeter back in the day. I'm like, I got to do that. Then I'm thinking of like 50 Cent who threw it into the Mets dugout.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, don't want to be that. Somewhere in between George Bush and 50 Cent, and I'll be good. So I get out there, with 45,000 people cheering, and all of a sudden, man, it's just your brain goes into this incredible place of like this dungeon of like, if you throw it away, you're going down.
And you did it because, again, former player, you got to do it from the mound.
I had to do it from the mound.
Yeah.
I was going to do it from the grass, and everyone's like, you got to go to the mound. I was like, all right, go to the mound.
Yeah.
I get up there, and like, Dempy's a pitcher, so it's like, bam, I was a hitter, right? So this is a different view, 45. And said, I get up there, I take a rip, and ball starts cutting like Mariano Rivera, just shit. I'm like, and Brent Suter, who was a lefty, 6'6" lefty reliever, almost has to dive, but he makes the play. It's like this. And I literally gave him the biggest hug ever. I was like, dude, you saved my life, dude. I didn't need a video out there forever. Here's 50 Cent, the mayor of Cincinnati years ago, and Sean Casey.
Well, we are going to show a highlight video, but this is Brett's highlight. This is not yours. Let's take a look at the save from the catcher. I mean, man, skin of your teeth. Skin of your teeth.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel like we talked about this once. I think I met you. You were Cubs like 03, 04.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time being out with you. I forget how we ended up at the same bar, but you had a great Harry Carey impression there.
Yeah.
And you had grown up. It wasn't even because of the Cubs. Like, people forget that Harry Carey was the Cubs announcer.
Yeah.
Cubs used to be on WGN. It was weirdly America's team.
Yeah.
And so, but you took it, you started doing Harry Carey. Where are you doing it here? Is that at an actual Cub game?
That's doing the 7th inning stretch right there.
7th inning stretch.
Yeah. I got full makeup in. I've done it a few times, different places. Like, for example, got a chance to roast George Wendt.
George Wendt, Norm from Cheers.
Yes.
Local Chicago guy.
And I method acted for that. I went down like this, and then I shaved my beard off between times of rehearsal and that, and I went full makeup, and nobody knew who I was.
And so did the people there think you had lost your mind? That you were a person who just thought
Bob
he was
Odenkirk's wife did, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
She's
Naomi Odenkirk, who's a famous manager.
Manager. She's like, what's going on here? What's with this? Are you struggling for money? Like, what's happening, But she was really great. And so then I went out there, and I was nervous, right? Like, that's a big thing. And, like, Jason, his nephew, Jason
Sudeikis,
yeah, he's the roast master. And you had, like, people like, Tim Karasinski and Betty Thomas and Julius Sweeney and all these really famous people out there roasting him. And I'm an ex-baseball player, and I didn't know what to do. And so I just came out hot out of the gate.
Yeah.
Here we go. Like, Jason introduced me. I come out and I'm like, hey, thank you so much, Jason. It's great to be here. Hey, is it just me, or does Sudeikis sounds like a sexually transmitted disease? I just went, and I was like, hey, there's Bob Odenkirk. Yeah, Bob's got a hit show called Better Call Saul. Which is ironic, because in the 80s, when we wanted hookers or cocaine, we say, well, you better call Bob.
I worked with Sudeikis for years, and it does sound like that. First time it occurred to me. You also, you grew up in Canada.
Yep.
And so when you made it to the bigs, not a ton of Canadian players, Canadian-born players.
Not many at all. Like, honestly, in the big leagues, the time I was in the big leagues early on, there was like 6, 7 Major League Baseball players.
And it's people, so then the guys you met, the American ball players, like, it was really foreign to them that you were from Canada.
Oh, yeah. Like, Canada to them was like, you have to take some sort of, like, raft and a plane, and, like, you're, like, all, like, they'd be like, wow, you're from Canada. Wow, what's that like playing baseball in Canada? And I'd be like, well, you know, I mean, it's pretty normal. I mean, you just have to stop the game every once in a while, let the herd of polar bears go running through. You know, and they'd be like, really? I'm like, no, we're from like 2 hours north of Seattle. You know, not really.
Were you an
I got an incredible, he says this, I got an incredible Canadian story. Now, I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but everyone used to ask me, you know, I played first base, so they, you know, Case, tell me some great stories from first base. You know, what do you guys talk about? And then some days, like, hey, great weather, way to swing, and how's your parents doing, all that stuff. And this one time, this one guy was a big home run hitter, right? So he hits first home run, second home run, next one, double, a big pull hitter, too. So next one is double in the gap. So he's 3 for 3. Comes up. I've never seen this guy hit the ball the other way in my entire life, right? Bam, he hits a rocket down the left field line. Beautiful piece of hitting. And turns out Dempy was pitching the game. We just found this out.
Backstage.
It's incredible.
He's telling the whole story.
Telling the story. He's like, I was pitching that game. I'm like, man, you got hammered that game. so he hits a rocket down the line, Seth, and I can't wait to talk to him. I go over, you know, he's on first base. And I go, bro, I've never seen you hit like this, man. A couple home runs, but I've never seen you go to left in your whole life. You know, it's incredible. I go, 4 for 4. He goes, you know what, Case? He goes, and this is, you could say this back in 2002, I think, he goes, I'm 8 beers deep and a pack of smokes. I'm like, what? Guy's crushing a beer an inning and a couple of heaters, and he's just breaking them. I'm like, maybe I should start doing that.
I wrote him a note after the game. I said, this is no way to treat a fellow Canadian on U.S. soil. Thank you.
See, it was fun before steroids.
A couple beers and some Marlboro Reds, everything was good.
Yeah, there you go. What a delight to have you guys here. It's always great talking ball with you. Sean Casey, Ryan Dempster, everybody can see Sean and Ryan on the MLB Network show Intentional Talking MLB tonight. And Sean's podcast, The Mayor's Office, is available wherever you get your podcast. We'll be right back on Wednesday night.